Welcome to New Life Live with Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's today's host, Chris Williams.
Hello and welcome to New Life Live. We are so glad that you are with us today. And I am so glad to have with me in studio today and, in studio and across the country, I have J.J. West, licensed marriage and family therapist, EMB, Every Man's Battle facilitator, and honestly, just an all-around, great, good guy that I love being around. J.J., how you doing?
Oh, thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. I'll pay you later for that.
The invoice is in the mail.
That's right. No, I'm doing well. I just realized, for those who are watching on YouTube, I'm wearing a Rorschach test shirt apparently today. I didn't realize until earlier, but right. So if you need help with your personality, you just use my shirt. There you go.
Use your shirt and write it in, and he'll send you a response. And
that's right.
Clinical psychologist. And just brilliant person all around. I love hanging out with her.
We're all just all around.
Yeah. Mutual Admiration Society today. But Dr. Jill Hubbard.
Hi, Chris. Hi, JJ.
All right.
Hey, Jill.
Jill, I'm going to put you on the spot here. What's on your mind? Talk to us.
Well, it's 4th of July, and I probably don't have any fireworks for you here, but I've been thinking about troubles and how they can be a precursor to change.
Okay, yeah.
Right? How they often really precede change, right? Because don't we all resist change?
Yes.
We like to hold on to the familiar because it's known, it feels safe, and change is just so hard. So this is what we do. And we don't realize that in our resistance, right, we may be blocking the very thing that God has for us, right? But nobody likes to go through that slide of troubles. And in that resisting, we squelch our creativity, we squelch all possibility, right? So when troubles hit, I think there's a time of, just like sinking in a little bit and maybe being deeply grieved by it or feeling really down. Yeah. And then we have to process and get to a place where we have to see reality, right? And so I besides our family and our homes, we spend the most time at work, right? So this is not the biggest life problem one could ever have. But I have been in the same office for my work for 24 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
About as long as I've been on radio, right? And for 20 of those years, I've had the same wonderful people. I've been really blessed and really spoiled. Yeah. And we've had a great congenial atmosphere. The last few years, we've had a little more of a revolving door of people. And as people are getting older around me and retiring, there's been a lot of change and a lot more upheaval. And now I'm at the point where I'm going to have to move after 24 years. Oh, wow. And I have been resisting this change and holding on and saying, no, we can figure it out.
I have a spot in Placentia if you want to.
And I've had to come to realize, wow, maybe this is a time where I need to let go and see what God has for me. That's good. And surrender it. And I have a whole bunch of stuff here, and we are out of time for me to get to it all.
But I think, but I do want to get back to that a little bit more on the other side of our break here, because Jill, you mentioned something I think is critically important, and that is, and I don't like this truth, but I find it true. Suffering, as hard and brutal as it is, does lead us to change. And that is affirmed throughout Scripture.
Yes.
You know, you can't get too far into 1 Peter to realize that God uses our struggles, our troubles, our suffering to get us to that next level. And so
sometimes to unearth us, right?
Absolutely.
From where we're stuck.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about that when we come back.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn from New Life Live, and Chris Williams and I are doing the Emotional Freedom Workshop. I don't know of anybody that wouldn't benefit from emotional freedom. We're all bound or stuck or struggling in some area. What are we going to do there, Chris?
Just really help people get clarity around the places where they're stuck in their life. They sort of circle the same mountain of disappointment over and over and over again. You're going to be able to see that mountain clearly and get to a new place of what we call emotional freedom, which is simply I can feel in the world, build a relationship to it, and know what to do with my experiences.
The New Life Emotional Freedom Online Intensive is Saturday, September 14th. Steve Arterburn, Chris Williams, and Dr. Jackie Mack Harris will present information on trauma, depression, codependency, and more. And small group leaders will help you process the information you learn. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live, and we were just talking about this important truth that is hard. Right? And that is that our struggles, our troubles, our suffering oftentimes leads us to new things. You're talking about ending, this office situation that's been great.
Right.
Not and being now, great anymore.
No, now it's not great, and it's a lot, right? And life keeps moving. It's not like that's the only thing going on.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a reason why the cliche, no pain, no gain, right? And that troubles can be both debilitating and they can be motivating. And so we don't want to embrace change just for change's sake.
Yes.
It's not like change your wife, change your life, right?
Yes.
That's not what we want to do.
Not at all.
We want productive change versus destructive
Yes.
change. Right? And they've even done research, and some of you have probably heard this research, where they went into a workplace and they changed the paint on the walls and productivity went up. And they did that about 4 times and eventually went back to the original color. And every time they made a change after things had plateaued, productivity went up.
Yes.
So those minor changes that we make can really enliven us, and yet we so resist them. And why do we resist? Because we're afraid, right? We're so afraid. And I've been looking at Psalm 34, and in Psalm 34, verses 4 through 6, it says, I prayed to the Lord, and he answered me, freeing me from all my fears. Those who look to him for help will be radiant with joy. No shadow of shame will darken their faces.
I love it.
I cried out to the Lord in my suffering, and he heard me. He set me free from all my fears. And there's a reason why in the Bible it says, do not be afraid 365 times, one for every day of the year, right? And then to continue in Psalm 34, verse 18, the righteous face many troubles. Verse 18, God draws near or close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those who are crushed in spirit.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and then to continue on in 19, the righteous face many troubles, but the Lord rescues them from each and every one. We are going to face troubles, right? My stint of 20 years is really an anomaly.
Yeah.
We are going to face troubles. And God doesn't always remove those troubles because he knows it refines us, but he's always with us in the middle of those troubles.
That's so good. That's such an essential reminder for us today, Jill. Thank you so much for that, because that's really the heart of what we're doing here, is that we are recognizing and acknowledging life's most difficult struggles and
that
suffering.
That is what we do, right?
And that's, we reach out for help, and with God's help, with his body, we find our way through. We find and discover God's presence.
So what we do, Chris, instead of following the cliche of no pain, no gain, we change it to no brain, no pain.
No brain, yeah.
No brain, no pain. I'm going to numb out. I'm going to escape. I'm not going to be present. I'm not going to embrace this pain, this suffering that's coming my way.
Yeah, that's so good.
That is good.
That is good. Well, let's do this. Let's go to the calls. We are going to go to Carla, listening in Fayetteville, Arkansas on Sirius XM. Carla, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us today. And what's going on, and how can we help you?
Well, I kind of wrote everything down so I wouldn't kind of bounce around. So if I could just I'll run through it really, really quick.
Go for it.
Excuse me. Okay. what I'm calling about today is I just recently lost my husband 2.5 months ago.
Oof.
And he had always promised me, in my childhood and things, and my mother and things went through a very, very hard time after she was alone and just severely financially struggled. It was to just unbelievable levels. And so he always promised, Carly, you will always be more than taken care of financially. He was in the military, and so I will get a portion of his retirement. However, he had life insurance through the military for 30 years, then served another 12. And so he had insurance for around 48 years of his life, and he canceled that a few years ago. I have no idea why, no anything. But he was a severe, severe alcoholic, and he died of liver failure. And so, and now that he has passed away, I have learned that he had over $70,000 worth of credit card debt, and he actually took $40,000 of credit card debt out in my name, and I had no idea about that.
Wow.
And so my question, here's kind of my question. When all I feel is anger.
Yes.
All the time. I feel anger all the time. And anytime I have a good memory or I have a memory of seeing him in a place, seeing him in his office or seeing him in his chair, I feel so angry, but at the same time, I feel so guilty for feeling angry, and I feel so ashamed of myself that I'm not a widow who can say, when people say, how are you doing? And I just have to say everything's okay. It's going all right. But inside it's not, because I feel like I can't tell them the truth, and I don't want them. I've got to be so careful with my words because I don't want them to sense. You know what? I really am struggling.
Yeah.
I'm really, honestly, I'm having feelings of hate,
Yes.
disappointment, and so angry.
Yeah.
Carla,
So angry.
so understandable. Oh my gosh. Your husband promised you all these things, that he would take care of you. And this is really the ultimate bait and switch, right? He wasn't honest with you. And so you're left now going, he's not even here for you to be angry at him, right? And get an explanation for all of this.
Right. And he was so verbally abusive throughout our whole marriage. And then, like I said, he was a severe alcoholic, and so I have taken care of him for years.
Yeah.
And all the way until he was just bedridden. He died of liver failure. So, yes, I feel taken advantage of. I feel ashamed. I feel really stupid that I let him take. He was military, so he demanded all control of everything.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just now learning how to pay the electric bill. And
so Carla,
it's just all a struggle.
Yeah, let me start here, okay? Anger is a God-given emotion. God gets angry. And now, don't get me wrong, throughout Scripture, there is a ton of warnings placed around anger. You know, Jill talked about fear. The Bible gives more warnings around those two emotional experiences more than any others, fear and anger, right? Because we know that they can cause a lot of destruction and they're really painful. But we start here.
Right.
Why anger? Anger is a God-given natural response to an injustice that has caused harm. You have been unjustly treated for many years, and it has caused harm. And so that's where I just want to start today, is to give validity to the anger so that you don't shame the anger. You learn to hold the anger. Yeah.
Right. Well, and how about the fact that he was an alcoholic who didn't get help, and that's what killed him?
Yes. And,
right?
you know,
his more destructive choices.
Really destructive choices to cancel life insurance, to rack up secret debt. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is this is the ugly side of alcoholism.
Yes, absolutely.
And I've had to watch him die.
So painful.
A very slow death over the last 2 years. He spent 90% of his time completely drunk
Yeah.
and in bed. And when he died, he was literally yellow, his skin,
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get
Carla.
medical care for him because when he would fall or something, I would call an ambulance and he would refuse care. And once he would say, I refuse care, they have to leave.
Yeah, they have.
No
Yep,
matter what.
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
You know,
so
I'm
go
sorry,
for
go
it.
ahead, Chris.
Yeah, go for it, JJ.
Yeah, Carla, you mentioned that you feel guilty. And, to Chris and Jill's point, fear and anger, those are God-given emotions. Guilt is a God-given emotion, but we also can experience false guilt.
Mm-hmm.
We can experience guilt over something where we did nothing wrong. And that's what you're experiencing. You feel guilty for the poor choices that your husband made. And I don't believe God wants you to hold on to guilt for his bad choices, his mistakes. I know that you also feel foolish, that there's a feeling of, I was duped, and I was duped for so long. And why did I not maybe see the signs and demand something different earlier on? But to feel guilty over your husband's choices is not going to lead to healing. Okay, so I want you to encounter the Spirit of God releasing you from that guilt. And then the second thing I want to say is, you said, I can't be honest with people when they ask me how I'm doing. I have to say everything's okay. It's all going to work out, because I don't know how they're going to feel if I tell them the truth. I know you can't tell the truth to the masses, but do you have anybody in your world, anyone that you can be honest with and say, here's what happened. Here's how he lied and deceived me. Here's the situation that he's left me in. I'm angry and I'm afraid, and I don't know exactly how this is all. I don't even know how to pay all of the bills. I don't even know how all of the finances are working. Is there anybody in your world that you can be that honest with?
There probably is one person that I could. I just haven't went that far with him.
Okay.
Like I said, I feel embarrassed. I feel shame.
I know you do. And understandably so that you feel that, but I don't want that embarrassment and shame to rob you of the community, the connection, and the healing that God has for you. And so often the community and connection and healing that God has for us comes through the pathway of humbling ourselves enough to be honest with others.
Yeah.
Carla, certainly some of what you experienced was co-created. You were figuring out a way to survive. Your husband, though, was purposely keeping things from you. We can't always know what we don't know.
Absolutely.
Right? And we get, you were verbally beaten into submission. And you cared for him as best you could. You tried to be honorable. You tried to honor your vows, and you cared for a man who was very, very ill. He has passed away, his own choice. It's time for you to stop taking care of him. And it's time for you to focus on taking care of Carla.
Yes,
and that means to do it different. The rules that your husband laid down, you get to redo them and remake them. And so that means starting by telling the truth. So you said you went to Al-Anon. Maybe you go to Al-Anon and you share more of the truth with people that are anonymous. And you start there and you let just a little bit out at a time, because I know it's going to be hard for you to tolerate. But you have to bring that shame into relationship so that you can stop carrying his shame, as JJ was saying. And that one friend, just go a little bit deeper than you have in the past. Just test the waters. Put your toe in. Because now life needs to be different. Let's not keep you, sequestered away.
Imprisoned by his illness after he's gone.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's time for a new life, Carla.
Yeah.
And anger can help propel you towards that.
You had mentioned, Jill, that suffering can lead to these changes.
Yes.
But it has to be exposed. It has to be revealed.
Yep.
And so I just want to encourage you so much, Carla, because you called us, you told us, and here are our responses. It didn't take great clinical skills for us to say, that's horrible. And you're in a horrible situation.
Yeah.
And so there are people who want to support you and love you. We are going to send you a copy of Take Your Life Back, and to kind of help you see, kind of how you're trapped in this, but how there is a way forward. And I can't encourage you enough to get connected with a therapist in your area, a New Life therapist. And we have a nationwide network of it that we can connect you with. We're going to be right back right after this.
When you give to the New Life Scholarship Fund, you're giving someone hope for a brighter future.
I was kind of in the closet and hid with my struggle. Your donation really made the difference, especially in my situation, because I would up getting laid off from my job.
At the New Life Intensives, hurting people are able to begin a new path towards healing and freedom that has an effect on all of those around them.
I think the people who support New Life financially are people that I'll never know. I'll never be able to thank them personally for the gift that they gave to us. Their giving saved me, my husband, and our family from being torn apart.
To help hurting people to connect to the help they need, make your gift to the Scholarship Fund at newlife.com or by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE and specifying scholarships.
Someone called and sponsored me to come this weekend. Whoever that is, just know that you saved a life. Literally, you saved my life.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Dr. Heidi Summers on coaching.
A lot of people don't understand the difference between counseling and coaching. Coaches can help you with strategizing. Not everyone is in a crisis or recovering from a trauma. A lot of people just need help getting to where they want to be, and they don't know how to do that. And so it's helpful to have a third party come in to give objective feedback, set goals, create accountability, and help you walk out what your goals actually are.
If you need a coach for life, your career, relationships, your health and fitness, leadership, and more, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been screened and certified with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
Coaches are intended to help you live in the present and goal set toward what it is you want for the future.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and talk to us about getting a New Life coach today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live, and we just took a call from Carla, and Jill, you had just had
just one more
thought. A really important.
Well, I hope it is.
Yes.
Well, Carla had mentioned about feeling so embarrassed and she doesn't know how to do things.
Yeah.
So one of the things in marriage that also gets co-created is you kind of divide and conquer.
Uh-huh.
And so you learn the tasks that are kind of you're assigned, right, or you decide to do, and you don't necessarily learn the other tasks. So whether you lose a spouse through death or, like myself, through divorce, I had to learn so much. There was so much I didn't know. And you learn when it's necessary to learn, right? If it's not necessary.
Necessity being the mother of all invention.
So no need to feel embarrassed. It's just, now I need to get on board with these things because now it's on me.
And that's one thing I just want to piggyback on that is that fear.
Yes.
Fear can turn into either embarrassment or anger or both very, very quickly. Whereas fear just needs help.
Yep.
And if we can find that humility to say, hey, I don't know how to do this. can you help me? And realize that, man, there are people that really do care and love for us and that were willing to jump in. And that itself is this incredible healing experience. We want to keep the healing experiences going, so we're going to go to Marina in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, listening and watching on YouTube. Marina, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, talk to us. What's going on?
Okay, I'm going to give you a quick here. My son married for a year and then cheated on his wife. She said she had had enough, went for a divorce. My son was devastated, cried, has been crying ever since. But more recently, she reached out to my husband and I and said she wanted to meet with us. We were thrilled because we had missed her. She sat with us. She showed us pages and pages of supposed texts that he had done between him and other girls, I guess. And she revealed a number of other things, including that he had had trauma. Someone had injured him when he was younger, that he shared with her, but I always suspected it. All of that to say that she asked if we could have him come to our home because he doesn't live with us. She went back to her parents and he lives by himself, and have him come to our home and sign a paper. At the time, we thought she was asking us to have him come to our home to sign divorce papers. So we said, okay. And then we told our son, she wants you to come and sign these papers. I left out a whole part. My son's career is in law enforcement. He got a tracker off of Amazon and put it on her car. He found her somewhere. He yelled at her and screamed, "Who's this guy you're with?" And supposedly the guy was just a friend. Okay, needless to say, she found out from the cop who came when this all happened that she could get him fired by going to his higher-ups and saying he put a tracker on my car.
Yes.
Yes. So when she came to see my husband and I, and we all sat together, just the three of us, and she went through all of this, she said, I need you two to help me. I need him to sign papers. Again, we're thinking divorce papers. And she said, I want to come tomorrow with my mom, and then he can come and he can sign. And then
so Marina, let me just jump in. Is there a question for us? How can we help you today?
Here's our question. When they met to sign, he began to beg and plead with her, and about 20 minutes in, maybe 25 minutes in, my husband said, son, just sign the papers. She wants you to sign the papers, because the young lady said...
Okay, so hold on. You're going back to story. What's the question for us?
Sorry. So the question is, when my husband yelled at him and said, sign the paper, he signed the paper. He was in tears. He's 28. And then he left my home, and he said to us, my husband and I in the driveway, you're both dead to me. So our question is this, since my husband is here with me, I have horrible guilt over what has happened. I felt like we should have never allowed it to happen in our home where he came there to sign. We felt like maybe he felt betrayed by
us. And were they the divorce papers?
Were they...
She was, they're called, I called an attorney afterwards. It's called when you announce it to something, you know, when you could take it to their job or you could take it to... Okay,
so Marina, there's a lot going on here that we probably can't help you with because that's on the legal side of things. Right. But what we're hearing is that there is a tremendous feeling of guilt that you and your husband are carrying as a result of your son's behavior. So, Jill, how do we help him?
I remember it's called serving paper. Somebody served him.
Yes.
So he served him.
So that's, so that is probably having to do with the divorce.
Yeah.
And when I did call an attorney, the lady told me, you know, it's the best thing you did was have him sign because he could go to a higher up and he'd lose his job.
Okay. So your son is devastated. He's at fault here for cheating.
Yeah.
Right? In his grief, he is making poor choices in you know, now that he's lost her and realizing that he wanted her, right? He's not owning his own behavior. So he's lashing out in all directions, Marina. And now you, his parents, because you aided the divorce going through, which was going to go through anyway. So, right, so you didn't do anything wrong. He's lashing out at you as well. And I don't know if there's been a history of this in the past, but when he says you're dead to me, I don't know that he necessarily means that forever. I think he just feels so devastated and he's in a deep state of grief.
Yeah.
Right? So I think you're going to have to, one, wait. You're also going to have to reach out to him and let him know that you're there for him when he's ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Marina, you hear the music. We're going to come back to you,
we'll give you more.
Yeah, right after the break here to give you a little bit further direction on what you're struggling and suffering. I also want to mention we have Intimacy in Marriage coming up July 26th through the 28th in Washington, D.C. Get online, check that out. We'll be right back.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit its addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Club New Life changes lives.
I think I go way back to listening to New Life, learning so much from it, and then becoming a Club New Life member.
Club New Life is a monthly giving family that helps New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people.
You know, I'm so thankful because you know why I keep giving? Because I keep learning, and I'm so thankful for all the lives that you touch every day and the people's lives. So when I get to still hear the radio show, it's just so encouraging to my heart.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
And you know one reason I give? Because I feel like sometimes I'm hiding behind a counselor's couch listening to all this great information and not paying, so my guilt of this great advice is alleviated by being a Club New Life member.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. And together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. It's me, Chris Williams, Dr. Jill Hubbard, and JJ West. We're talking with Marina. Marina is in just a horrible situation with her son, who has been unfaithful in his marriage, but also has shown some pretty disturbing behavior in response to that as well. And so JJ,
let me just say, I was saying, when people go through such a devastating loss, even though he created it, we're reduced to our most primitive selves.
Yeah, that's good.
That come out.
Yep.
But that being said, we're seeing some pretty primitive, scary behavior in your son, Marina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, JJ, what do you think?
So, Marina, what strikes me the most about your call is how you are trying to take responsibility for the consequences of your son's choices. That you feel guilty that somehow this divorce came about and him getting served papers came about because you and your husband allowed this to happen in your home, and that's just simply not true. And I'm wondering if is there a history of that in your life where you are prone to accept responsibility for consequences of other people's poor choices?
Never thought about it.
Because it seems as though that's the case. Like you're saying, I feel so bad. I have all this guilt over what happened and the fact that we allowed this to happen in our home. It was going to happen. It was going to happen. Yeah. And to Chris and Jill's point, you know, your son's response to the fact that she wasn't going to put up with him cheating by putting a tracker on her car, by exploding
almost
with this friend that
accusing
she was
her.
with. And accusing her and then getting angry at you, all of that is deflection. all of that is, I'm not willing to look at my role in this. I'm not willing to accept responsibility for the choices I made that destroyed this marriage. I'm going to put the blame on everybody else. And
right.
And so I want you, Marina, because you can't control your son. You can't fix him. I want you to focus on, how often am I prone to try and accept responsibility for the consequences of other people's choices? Because that's not allowing him to be forced to change, because he sees the consequences. He experiences the consequences of his own choices.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and Marina, it feels bad as a mom, regardless how old your child is, when they say you're dead to me.
Of course, yeah.
What parent wants to hear that? So I heard kind of a panic in your voice, and it's that kind of ripping away of someone that you would do anything for. And so that's very hurtful. And that's why I say those words are just words, and they're meant to hurt because he's hurting.
Yeah.
And he is caught in an incredibly dangerous pattern of control. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you, Marina, what you told me. You ready for this? Because we're going to break right through denial and straight into reality. My son is a serial cheater and has been radically unfaithful in his 1 year of marriage. When his wife had enough, and she was going to end this to end her own suffering, he committed illegal acts from a position of power and authority to try to control the situation. And when it didn't work, he told me he was dead to me. What does that sound like to you?
It sounds awful.
Yeah, and I know this is hard. This, like Jill said, this is
your son.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But we need to get into reality to know the level of danger that your son is in, the level of unhealth that he's in, and the level of help that he needs as well. Because, Jill started off the show that suffering doesn't have to lead to more suffering. Suffering can lead to change, could lead to something different. And there are things inside of your son that no one else has control of, including himself, but that you're not going to have control of, but he does need to address. And we hope and we pray that it is that level of life no longer works for me in the way I've been doing it, and I need something radically different. And listen, that's that moment of surrender for everyone who struggles with addiction. Like, this no longer works for me, and we typically don't get there until we're face to face with the felt part of our suffering and our consequences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, so Marina, I want you and your husband to get support. I want you and your husband to get into some good counseling here. To stay in reality, to stay in safety, but to gain support and knowing that my even though my son suffers, it doesn't mean I'm a bad parent. Mm-hmm. But we do need to take our own health and our own safety into consideration as we move forward here, including our own feelings of hurt and suffering. So, yeah. So, Marina, we are going to send you a copy of Take Your Life Back. And again, it helps us see patterns of what is healthy, what is unhealthy, and then how do we begin to set boundaries around that. So we're going to send a copy out to you of that. And we just thank you so much for calling in and so much for really taking the risk to say, hey, we got to confront this, and what do we do next? So again, we honor you for that. We thank you for that. And we're going to go to another call here. We're going to go to Mary, listening in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, on the other side of the state. And she's listening on WBYN, great sister station out there. Mary, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
Thank you for taking my call.
No problem at all. We're glad to do it. Tell us what's going on.
Well, I have a question about personality disorder and sociopath. I'm wondering if that is something that's hereditary, and how soon does it manifest itself? I'm not even really sure what it is, but I'm just wondering can a teenager have these syndromes?
That's a great question. Let me ask my clinical psychologist in the room. Jill, what do you think here?
Well, Mary, personality disorders are a pervasive pattern of functioning that causes it causes problems in a person's life, right? For them and for others that they don't correct. And so while most personality disorders are not fully diagnosed until usually early adulthood or later, sure, you can start to see some signs that are starting to develop, because it's always at a certain point people say, oh, yeah, now that makes sense, all of that person's behavior. But I think we refrain from trying to give someone a diagnosis early on that would stick with them for life, because we also want to intervene while kids are still malleable, right? And they're still developing, their brain's still developing. So we want to try to interrupt those patterns. And for someone to have a full-blown personality disorder, it's usually only 10% of the population. And all of us have some traits or features. And also at different times in our lives. We were talking on the last call, when you are reduced to your most primitive self, you can look like a lot of diagnoses.
Yes.
And so we want to see, is it pervasive, not just when times are troubled and rough, but does it persist even when times are calm?
Yeah, that's good.
As a way of interacting.
Yeah, that's really, really helpful.
Yeah, part of why we don't diagnose typically personality disorders in adolescence is because we're, one, hoping that there's a maturity out of those behaviors, and two, if you've ever spent any time with a teenager, there's a lot of things that they do that kind of present like personality disorders, but it's just immaturity, right? It's just haven't experienced enough consequences of treating other people that way to go, I don't like how that ends up. I'm gonna behave differently. A person who actually has a diagnosed personality disorder, it's not a choice that they're making, right? It's not, and so they're not going to mature out of it. So like Jill said, you're going to see some signs of it early on because it is pervasive, but you're not going to diagnose it in adolescence because you're still hoping that there is a possibility of maturing and learning from those mistakes.
Yeah, that's really, really good.
Yeah.
Really helpful. And Mary, there's a couple more thoughts that that we have that we're going to come back to this after the break here. But I just want to mention, again, I mentioned before that very briefly, intimacy in marriage. It is such a game changer for marriages, whether you're in a relatively healthy place or you're in a place of crisis. Our Intimacy in Marriage, where JJ is a primary speaker there and great presenter. It's coming up July 26th through the 28th in Washington, D.C. You can go online to our website, www.newlife.com, to check it out, to register. But I highly, highly encourage all the marriages out there. Let's get healthy or healthier.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family, or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step towards genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live, and we're talking with Mary. She's asking about like personality disorders, or even what we refer to as sociopathy, which is really dangerous behavior, harmful behavior in a person that can be pervasive over time. So
Well, and so, Mary, I said we don't typically diagnose kids when they're young, but we do take notice, and we do have to address behavior, because you're asking, and I'm not sure why you're asking, but you're asking about sociopathy. And certainly there are signs in young children, the typical signs of fire setting, killing of animals, doing harm without remorse.
Yeah, boundary violation, like a compulsion to harm others, but it feels relieving, not remorseful to that person.
So, and it could be in lesser forms of a conduct disorder. People are starting young, doing illegal things, doing the boundary violations. And so you have to address those behaviors, because you don't want them to go into full blown. And yet, I mean, the more severe they are, the less intervening you can do, really.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
So,
and now, is it hereditary? Can this?
It can be, yeah. There definitely can be genetic components or vulnerabilities to it.
Right. So it's kind of the nurture versus nature that we're always looking at, and it's usually a combination of both. What you come into the world with, a lot of things lay dormant until they're invoked in the environment.
Yeah.
And then that plays a role.
If I'm raised by a narcissist, how much is it I just inherited stuff versus what it was like to live in the home of a narcissist and how that impacted me. Right?
And what did I learn? I learned how to be a human being by a narcissist. So,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Both
I
of
think
those are going to be in play.
But I think if I can read between the lines, Mary, is you're asking this question based on some experience you're having with somebody.
Yes.
And so,
my grandson.
Okay, so what I want to say is this. Especially for children. It's for all human beings, but especially for children and adolescents. Behavior is a strong form of communication. Okay, so
all behavior has meaning.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So what we want to do, like our natural tendency is to explain the behavior without understanding the behavior. A diagnosis is a good way to explain the behavior without understanding it, unless you have a professional over time that can do that. That's
or
trained.
We just want to control and punish the behavior.
That's true too. Yeah.
Right, without fully understanding.
And so a good question for your grandson is, what's going on, man? What's happening? And if you can find a Oh, go ahead.
In his growing up time, his mother seemingly punishes, kind of like a drill sergeant. And then his brother has anger management problems and ADHD very bad. And so there was a lot of trauma in the house, I believe, at times. And I don't know whether this has kind of traumatized him. And then, we're trying to heal it. We're trying to heal it.
How old is he?
He's 15.
Okay.
But he tends to get into trouble. He just tends to get into trouble. He's not with his mother full time now. He's with his father, my son.
Okay.
And
so Mary, is he going to therapy? Is he seeing anyone?
He has been going to therapy.
Okay.
There's been family therapy.
Oh, good.
Really trying to get the family back together.
Yeah. Well, that's really good.
Well, and if your son is a solid guy, I mean, he could make all the difference in the world in a 15-year-old boy's life.
Yeah. And I think this too, Mary, is that you have an incredible advantage. There is no one on planet Earth like Grandma.
Yeah.
I mean, there is
Grandmas could say things.
Yeah, because Grandma is.
That's what they tell me.
Yes, Grandma is this incredibly unique God-given position of this true unconditional love and acceptance, but still a source of truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You can get away with it, right? Because you're not the parent, and kids
but
accept it.
But she's also a wonderful resource for him to be able to tell the truth. So you could ask, like you and your son, each individually could go to him, to your grandson, and ask, hey, tell me what's going on with you, and what was it like growing up with your mom, and get two totally different answers because of how safe he might feel with you, because there's not going to be ramifications.
That's one of the things. Initially, I had told him that he could come to me if he had questions or he needed to. And as long as it's not something detrimental.
Right.
Yeah.
But see, with teenagers, we have to go to them. We can't just say, hey, whenever you want to, you can come to me and ask questions or ask for help or whatever. We actually have to go to them on a regular basis and continue that invitation.
Okay.
Hey, I'm here to listen.
But take him out, go get a soda or something.
I do that
go
a lot.
for a walk.
I do that a
ride
lot.
in the car and talk.
Right.
Yeah, if
we
you
do
are,
that.
that's
Good.
great, because if you're the safe place where he can experience his body relaxing, because he knows he's loved.
Yeah.
He knows that, and that he's not going to be harmed. That, as JJ was saying as well, it's like, do that consistently over time.
Right. And don't just ask Chris, how he's doing, but how are you doing on the inside of you?
Yeah.
How's your heart feeling?
Okay.
What are the things you think about? What are the things you worry about? What are you afraid of anything?
Yeah.
Right.
How do you see yourself in your friend group?
Yeah.
Right. Those kinds of questions.
Well, and this is so important for all of us, because the truth is that our unresolved fears and pains, if we don't talk them out, we'll act them out. Right. They are undefeated. They will show up. They have to get outside of us. And I'm a big believer in this. I was coaching my therapist team on this the other day. I said, I really believe that our body wants to reveal the truth. And it's terrified at the same time, and it just needs a safe place to do that. And so, Mary, we are so grateful that your grandson has you. And we are so grateful that you called in, because what a reminder of the incredible gift that grandparenting is in our world today, and that your concern and your love for your grandson is showing up. We're going to send you a copy of How We Love Our Children. And that really kind of gives us a little bit deeper dive into how do we connect with the internal world of our kids. Yeah. Thank you so much for calling in. Hey, thank you, listeners, for listening, for being with us, for sharing our time together. I do want to mention that any gift that you give in the month of July comes with this phenomenal new book by Dr. Henry Cloud, Why I Believe. Would love for you to support us, and we will continue to be here for you. Thank you, Dr. Jill Hubbard. Thank you, JJ. Great time with you guys today, and we'll see you later.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE. But when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.